am Orlando Jones, and I just want you to know that the Moana Nui podcast will be starting soon. Stay tuned, yo.
I'm Veronica Taylor, and from myself and Ash Ketchum, I just want to say, Moana Nui, I choose you!
Aloha mai kako, everyone. Welcome to the Moana Nui podcast. Today, we have a wonderful special guest highlight to talk about one of our partners here on the Moana Nui podcast. And the name of the organization is Hoʻakā Mana. And if you follow me or you follow the podcast, this is not the first time that you're hearing this. Hoʻakā Mana is a nonprofit organization, Native Hawaiian organization that is doing some wonderful work in the Kanoelani Native Hawaiian community back home in the islands. Specifically, we are partnering with them right now with Maui relief efforts. And I know we've already got so many people supporting our efforts, whether in actual item donations or in monetary contributions. So we thank you guys for all of that. Please continue to share and help us in this. But I thought that we would bring them on to let them talk about their organization and help you guys better understand the work that you are supporting, the people who are behind it, and the impact that your contributions help us to deliver to the families that were affected by the Maui Fires that happened last month in August. So with that said, I'm going to bring on my sister Jazzy, who is helping us now. She is our creative director here on the Moana Nui podcast, and she's also working with us with Hoʻakā Mana. So she's going to take the lead, and then we're going to bring on our guest. So I'll do that right now. Okay.
Aloha, everybody. Jazzy here. I'm definitely excited to bring on our special guest. And so I'm blessed to know that this nonprofit exists and just the amazing work that they do, and being able to be a part of it has just been absolutely incredible. So with no further ado, I would like to bring on Kanoelani Davis. She is the executive director of Hoʻakā Mana. Hi, Hun.
Aloha, aloha.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Mahalo so much for letting me share this space with you folks and to share a little bit about the work that we're doing.
Awesome. We're happy to have you. So speaking of the work that you're doing, tell us a little bit more about the organization and what you guys do.
Yeah, so Hoʻakā Mana, let me just start off with the name so you understand kind of like where this is coming from. So Hoʻakā, ka is to strike. Hoʻakā is to the action of striking, mana. So the way we look at it is to strike with intention. So everything that we do is meaningful, it's intentional, it's purposeful. We have no issues turning down things that don't match our vision and our mission. And our vision and mission is being able to strengthen indigenous identity through the community, through self-identity, through self-sovereignty, through skill sets and healing. And one of our sayings is, and so really just creating care for one another based on knowing who we are. And so I think that this is a great opportunity to kind of segue into this work around Maui and Malama Maui, which is something that we started probably the day I came back home from Lahaina, in doing some observations and knowing what was going to happen. So we have this program. I don't know what you want to call it. It is something that we have hashtag Malama Maui. That's a way for us to understand what we're talking about and the language we're talking in. And we created through hashtag Malama Maui a group of people who were wanting to help, who wanted to share their aloha but didn't know how to do that. And that's called our Pai Pai Aloha group of folks that are made up of folks on the continent as well as folks here home in Hawaii. And I want to share that it was only a few days after the fires happened that I was able to be in Lahaina. And at that time, there was a lot of high emotions. There were a lot of everything was elevated because of what had just happened, whether it be for just provisions and supplies, whether it just be like this shock in everybody's body, and just the movement of folks who wanted to come in and help. There's so many moving parts at that time, and being in the middle of it and observing it and feeling it and seeing it and hearing it and listening to the stories and the people and the families, I recognize while we're trying to feed bodies and get and house people and like, you know, get provisions to our folks, I knew that there was going to be a moment when that emotional high was going to start coming down. And because of the work that we do as an organization, I knew what I could do to get to Konanenes, right? To get 5 steps ahead of this in order to be there when we meet it. And I knew that the missing folks that were not being recognized, that the identifying people that may have passed in the fires were about to show up. We were about to come up. We're about to be revealed. It hadn't been at that time. Again, people were just shocked. People were just looking for each other. So there wasn't a lot of assumptions that we knew that people had passed, but we didn't know who. And so people had that hope of finding families, and it wasn't their family, right? So we knew that part was going to come to a point where the realities of these things were going to set in. And so we mobilized, and I was very fortunate to meet Moana. And well, I've known Moana, but I mean, meet her at this point in regards to like, Kanoe, what are we doing? What can we do to help? And with that, it was like, all right, sis, she took lead. She, you know, one thing about Moana and is this ability to lead, just like her name. It is the deepest, most vastest way of understanding what is happening, and she wants to be a part of it, and we were all a part of it. And so I gathered my team, we came up with a plan, pulled her in, asked her to be a leader in Alaka'i for the Pai'aina, the Aina, the continent, and then Kalaka, who were out there. And she just took on that lead, and I love that about her because that's the same way I did. And for Hawaii, and we had Caleb, who is our Pai'aina lead, and he's in mental health and behavioral health, so that was helpful too. So we have all these great people, and we came up with a plan. And in that time that we came up with a plan. We wanted to organize because we understood things were happening fast, and through that, we were letting people do what they did best. And we stepped back for a second, took a pause, gathered our thoughts, organized accordingly, so that when we went in again, Hoʻakā Mana, to strike with intention, that we had that motion to go in fully. And so we created 4 hale around that, which is our pu'uhonua, our cultural one for healing, and to kokua, the volunteers and the lumi practitioners, the lao practitioners, our cultural practitioners. And then we have the mental health and awareness, the crisis counselors, more of that level of just talk story, to find balance. And that's, you know, for anybody who, non-Hawaiians, whoever was interested, any age levels too. And then of course we have the Hanai Ohana program as the Ohi Ohi Aloha program, which is we're getting pu'olo little sets ready for the kupuna, for the families, for the keiki, for their school supplies, you know, and all these great beautiful things to kind of get ahead, because we already knew what they were going to need. And, you know, especially the kids, you know, so, you know, just really thinking ahead of what was going to happen, but also understanding that we had to be as fluid as possible. And we still had to listen to what the people wanted, because I think that's probably the most important part, is hearing them for who they are and letting them tell us what they need. You know, the biggest thing I keep saying to people is we don't want to invoke secondary trauma, which is that historical trauma, right? The colonizer thinking, I'm even from Molokai, not in Lanahaina. I can't go over there and go, you need this, and you need this. I have to go, okay, what do you need? Relax. Let me go get it for you. And that's kind of the way it worked. And so just paying attention. And I know we're all trying to get involved, but it really takes a lot of patience and then a lot of fury, kind of all at the same time. And that requires somebody to be very ready to move in that direction. And so I know a lot of people didn't want to get in the way of, and I'm sorry to say this, and I'll be honest, there is a point of getting in the way, because what we don't want to do as the Kanaka on the ground is also have to teach you how to be helpful. You got to come with that already in you. Common sense is not common, and completion isn't. Oh, I can do this and I can do that. Great, go do it. Oh, but do you need this and do you need that? I got things to do here. You say you're going to do something, go do it. Go finish it. And so that's a part of not getting in the way. And then with culture too, people want to learn culture so that I can help. We do not need a burden to teach you culture right now, because these people don't have homes. Figure it out. So this is a part of that self-identity. And sometimes it's not something that people want to hear or listen to. So maybe we can help create self-identity to the people who are looking for that and where their place is to help in these matters. And hopefully we're reestablishing that for the people who are affected by the fire, because they've lost everything. They don't know where to start. And sometimes you just got to start anew, but that's not easy to say, right? So that was my soapbox moment.
That's okay. I mean, we're just being completely transparent and letting it be known. And so I know with working with you with this organization, you have a lot of moving parts. Things move really fast. Is there anything currently that is in motion or going on that you want to let people know, like, hey, this is the level we're at, this is what we're doing, and this is what we're working towards right now?
Yes, thank you so much for asking for that. So let me just recognize and mahalo whoever's listening to this. Mahalo, 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 mahalo for all the work that has happened up until this point. It takes a community, even if our community is as wide as the continent. Mahalo for the iPads that came in for the workers as well as the families, the Chromebooks, the two-way radios to help people communicate. Mahalo for the Play-Dohs and the little coloring books and the bubbles and all these beautiful things. It made the families happy, and giving out ice cream along with toilet paper. Like, hey, who wouldn't be happy, right? So those are the things that I want to just first and foremost say mahalo. And we're on the ground running, doing a lot of labor and donating a lot of time and energy, and you're out there donating the same amount of energy and time. And I just want to say that we're doing this together. As far as like immediate needs, as of Monday when I left Maui, some of the things that we were there in need of, like when I talk about immediate need, that means like within days. So some of that is, it's easier to have the monetary donations because we can purchase and then just get it there. That's been very, very helpful. So one hub needs a 20 by 40 tent, like a really sturdy 20 by 40 tent, because they're operating still in some parts with 10 by 10 tents. And those 10 by 10 pop-ups with the wind, they're not going to last very long. They don't usually. And so he's recognizing, the hub organizer is recognizing that we need to get ready for that. So that's an immediate need. We acquired a space, knock on wood, we're pending the contract to, a landlord has given us this opportunity to have a hub in Wailuku. And so this would be an opportunity to send things over there directly. We'll be able to put more food, more things that are needed, not only for Lahaina, but for Kihei and Kula, like all the other areas that were also affected, for people to come in and get supplies. And if we hear that Lahaina needs supplies because we get everyday updates, we can take whatever supplies we have in and just drive it over. So we've acquired that spot. But the problem is we still need shelving to put and organize it, so it becomes a place where people, one, don't feel chaos and get more anxiety. We want it to be a pleasant space for people to come and grab what they need. We'll have a lole aloha attire, clothes for people. So we need racks and hangers. People who want to donate their aloha clothes for that, for the idea of getting a job or using it for interviews, those types of things. We want to have them ready. And then we'll, in the back of this place, we'll have a space to do cultural workshops kind of, and then that's that social aspect of getting back into community. So you're not home alone thinking so much. So you're not home alone, you know, pondering all day and getting back out, trying to find some normalization. So we want to have cultural workshops in there. And then we have a program in which we're going to, I'm hoping to get as many firemen's wives to come and just have a day off to just kind of lounge in one beautiful space, find folks to come and watch the keiki. We have people who would volunteer to come and do football with the kids or daycare with the kids, give the moms a break, because they're also going through that trauma. They're also, I'm hearing, they're not sleeping well because their husbands went out to go fight these fires. They've lost their homes. They've had to go run with the kids while firemen were doing their job, saving the rest of the world. So it's like, we got to think about them too. There's after, you know, the indirect stuff that is also a part of this. There's so many layers. So really thinking about it in those ways. And so we don't have, and we need AC in that space. There's no windows in this big place and there's no AC. So we definitely need that. We're going to be in there for at least 6 months. So things like that, so that people can come in and out. We're not also letting our worker, who's volunteering, by the way, right now she's volunteering to be in this space, which is mind-boggling and beautiful to me at the same time. You know, finding funds for her is important too, because I don't want her to feel overwhelmed and we lose her. The workers need to be compensated in some way, shape, or form. So those are our more immediate needs. And then we're working with crisis counselors and training them to work with the families here on Molokai that were volunteers. We've had families leave this island day one. They're already in Lahaina, dropping off provisions that next morning. So you can imagine what they saw and what they felt, and they did it day after day after day after day after day. That took a toll on them. So we want to address our families who were affected by as volunteers here on Molokai, as well as some of the families that moved back to Molokai that lived in Lahaina that were displaced. So, and Lanai as well. So we're trying to identify those families too. So that's more immediate stuff. That's a lot. So
yeah,
it.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of moving parts, and just knowing that you are not just looking at it in a sense of, I'm just going to help. You're super organized. You have everything, you know, you're looking at more than just the immediate, and you're looking at the bigger picture, the narrow picture. You're looking at all the moving parts at the same time, every individual soul. And I do want to bring something up. I hope it's not too personal for you, but you and I have had a conversation before, and you've always talked about the kuleana. And I want to know if you want to share that part of your heart about why it's important for anyone who wants to help. Not just, it's more so about the intention, making sure that when they do help, it is purposeful, and it's not really about them helping, it's about who they are helping. So I wanted to know if you would mind touching on that a little bit.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, you know, sometimes we move about this world without recognizing how significant we all are, period. You know, and we just assume that everybody understands these concepts and walk just like us. Not that we're better than anybody, or not that they're better than us, but this understanding of what that means to be selfless in some spaces. And so I kind of shared a little bit about the listening part and being able to listen to somebody in a way that you hear them for their voice versus you are listening to their voice through your perspective. And that is very hard to do. Part of that is that self-identity. The part of that is that pono'i. Once you understand your pono'i, who you are as an individual in this world, nothing else matters. You can't be offended, and there's nothing you need because you can provide for yourself. So now when you do that, you're so abundant, you can provide for others based off of what they need. And so a lot of the times this imposing of the hero method, right, is a very, unfortunately, I will say it is a very colonizer way of thinking. That's what they did to us hundreds of years ago. Oh, you need this, you're savages. Oh, we need to take this religion because you have too many akua. We need to do this and this and this. That's what got us into this position. So if we're not thinking that we're not operating in the same way, we need to think twice, because that's not how it works. And so with Koleana, being able to volunteer, being able to do this freely and willingly, that's a blessing if you think about it. It's also a privilege, and it comes with this responsibility and Koleana. You, just because you're doing it for free and you're saying, well, I'm volunteering, I can come and go as I please, I will give and take as I need. It doesn't work that way. That's not how Koleana works. Koleana is, you say what you do and you do what you say. If you're going to put it in, put it in. If you're going to finish, finish. Like, that was one of the biggest things, is just seeing people not complete their Koleana, which then puts the burden on other people. That's not fair. And then, that's integrity, right? That's just integrity. That's how you would treat a job. If the boss doesn't see you saying what you're going to do, they'll just get rid of you. There's 100 of you. But why be that 100? As a Kanaka, we understand Koleana. I can fish anywhere in Hawaii, so to speak, but that's not the case, because I wouldn't. My Koleana is to know my space intimately enough that I only need to be in that space, and I don't need to overfish anywhere else. And so that's a very Ike Kupuna way of thinking. It's a very old way of thinking. And if we can get back to that way of thinking, I think we'll be able to work together and add value to spaces than to remove from it. And so Koleana, if we're doing it for the Instagram and the picture, if we're doing it for the accolades and the recognitions, I mean, I would hate for anything to happen to us, and because we're not going to want that. And I do come from a place where I was displaced. I lived in Kekaha at the time Iniki hit, and in Kekaha we lost our homes. And my brother and I didn't have a home. We didn't have water. We were washing our clothes in the river. Food was limited. So I understood what it was not to have a home as a child. And they had to helicopter my brother and I back to Molokai. And so that was a big deal for us. And that's where my empathy comes from, my sympathy comes from, is knowing what that felt like. And the immediacy, because people couldn't even get into Kekaha, like past the bridge from Waimea, they couldn't. So we were stuck. Imagine an island that doesn't have a road that goes all the way around. We were stuck. And so my father had to go up into the mountains and cut the water line just so that we could get water. And that was illegal, but it didn't matter. It was life or death. And so I understood that world. And as a single mother raising 4 daughters, anytime a hurricane comes, I'm prepared. Like, I got propane for days. I got stoves for days. I got machetes. I've got gas. I've got chainsaws.
Get them all together. Like, no,
my spears, my fishing gear, they're all ready. Like, if you need to, like, if something happened, come my house. I have them all ready to go. And that was my mentality as a single mom who had to protect her children all the time.
Absolutely.
And I've been through fires. I've been through 4 fires. And so these fires have come to the back of my house. And I have pictures of me just shooting fires, like, and I wasn't leaving, like, getting the lungs, and I knew what my kids were having to go through. So these are the things that help me and motivate me to move in the direction. There was no question to help.
Yeah.
Because I would have wanted it.
Right. And you know the need.
We understand the need. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Kuleana is outside of us. Mm-hmm. Kuleana is knowing who you are and feeling so abundant that you don't need anything, not even your ego, to be stroked, to walk into a room and help anyone. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know that you are also doing other projects and other things outside of the Malama Maui, outside of Maui efforts. Do you want to talk about any of the other things? I know that you have this beautiful, I don't know if it's a saying or if it's part of your vision, but you've brought up EMS before, and I've always thought that it was the most beautiful. This is where I was like, I am aligned with her. I vibe with this one. This is amazing. And if you're okay with sharing about it, I'd love for you to express what EMS is and what it's about and how it incorporates with your Hoʻakā Mana.
I love that. So EMS is something that I kind of made up And it stands for emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. So it's just being in alignment with all parts of ourselves, knowing that that's a foundation of the organization, as well as a foundation of myself, really. Being raised by my papa through a very cultural lens, we come from healers and martial artists and hula people. So you can imagine all of that is necessary in order for us to be well in our practices. And so EMS is we have several different programs. One of the programs that we have is called Pula Ohala. It's a small business intelligence program. You're probably wondering, how does EMS even fit into that model? Well, I can't wait for them to showcase themselves, and I get to listen. I've been listening to their 3-minute pitches because I tasked them to do that, and I hear their voices. And what comes up every single time is this confidence. And where does confidence derive from? It derives from knowing who you are, knowing where you're from, knowing your mo'olelo, and having that self-identity to have the confidence to walk up and be great in this world. And so Pula Ohala, although it's a small business cohort with Molokai of people in there, my job is to invoke enough skill sets and confidence in themselves to watch them thrive. And I cannot express, just in the 9-10 months, I don't even know how many, how much they have grown 200%. Some of them have left the island to continue building and scaling their businesses. So that's a part of that. I'm teaching at Leeward Community College. I get to teach other professors and instructors that have multiple disciplines through the understanding of Ho'a'ike, which is, it invokes EMS, it invokes Koleana and self-identity in order to be able to speak and listen to their students who are majority Native Hawaiian, so that they're able to speak about biology, speak about sociology, speak about psychology to their students so that they're able to absorb it, but through the way of Ike Kupuna. And that's a very indirect way. And it's fun. And we use photographs as ki'i makavalu to be able to portray some of that values. What else do we have? We have an Ola leadership program, which is taking in folks who want to come and just learn about our programs. And I usually listen to what their goals are in life, and I place them in that space. And then I allow them to lead. And I go, okay, lead. I'm right here. Fall. It's going to be fine. You need help? Just ask. You're good. But nobody gives anybody the opportunity to lead and show their skill sets. And so we want to be able to do that through Ola leadership. And then we have our crisis counseling program, which we just received recently. So training folks around crisis counseling, psychology and first aid, crisis work and prevention of, not prevention, but also substance use prevention, intervention, and treatment. So we have that sector as well. And it's universal. And I think that's it. We might have more. But
everything is literally culture-based to make sure that everything is with the understanding that, because Kanaka Maoli is very much it's a culture. I mean, we are a culture. We have our roots. We have the way that we were taught, passed on through multiple generations, hundreds of generations, all the way, back to when we were just stardust in the sky. And to know that there is an organization that honors that root system, that feeds that root system, and that flourishes that root system, it literally grows the tree. It just makes things bigger, more beautiful. And your programs are allowing what a lot of people have this understanding, if you're a foreigner, nobody likes you. And that's not we've touched on that before. That's not the case. It's just, we are asking you to understand our culture because you are in our area, you're in our lands. And if you can give us the aloha back with understanding, you're giving the opportunity for those folks to go, okay, Kanoelani, I'm from this state or from this country, and I want to teach here because it's a beautiful opportunity, but I want to make sure that I am doing my kuleana for the culture, and you give them that guidance.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people who are like that. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that we're trying to, because I've been doing that work for over 13 years, what we're trying to do is it's proven, it's already been proven through the research and through that guidance that indigenous knowledge specifically Native Hawaiian indigenous knowledge, which we would call ike kupuna wisdom of our kupuna, our ancestors, is that it's universal. That knowledge is not necessarily the fact that it's stuck to Hawaii. That knowledge is actually very universal, and you could take it anywhere in this world and it will still be relevant. And so what we're trying to express is that sometimes perhaps Western culture and indigenous culture, and in this case, Native Hawaiian culture, one can be so stringent and very, very strict in its boundaries, whereas with indigenous culture, it's a thought process and everything changes within environment. So my environment here on Molokai is very, very different from the environment on Maui as it is in Oahu. We still have the same thought process. We just do a little bit different things differently, like based on ahupua'a, what, if it's wetland, dry land, all this stuff. So once we figure that out, then we can apply it to everything in life. And so I think one of the biggest things is, Kanoe, how are you doing all it? So let me just be very clear. I may be the executive director for Hoʻakā Mana, but I'm also in every single program. And I'm not sitting behind a desk. I'm actually teaching all those programs. I'm leading to teach and to do. And then we have people who are just being mentored or being learned to do it. We're creating successorship. And I'm on the ground. In fact, I'd rather be on the ground than doing this all day, right?
I love it. You're not just doing, okay, here's the program, take the program, here's this, here's that. You are literally hands-on. You are showing. I'm not just talking, blowing smoke. I am literally showing you that this is how this is what I'm teaching you, and I'm doing it along with you. You literally have that beautiful mentorship, if you will, and that guidance, and as well as it's not even just a mentorship, but there's even a friendship there. There is, you're not above anybody just because you're running the organization. You're boots on the ground no matter what. So you're not just talking. You're not just going, yeah, go do that. That's fine. You're like, no, we're doing it together. It's very community.
It's an ohana, and that's one of the rules with this organization. The way we run behind the scenes of the organization is through that same ohana mentality, and people don't understand what that means. So a system within an ahupua'a, or from ocean to mountain, and elementally, meaning river, water, clouds, ocean, food, like all of that atmospherically has to work with each other to have a very operating and livable, vital space for people to thrive in. Same with people. Mm-hmm. So if I was the ocean and you were the clouds and he was the mountain, then they were the kalo, we all got to work systematically together in order for our ahupua'a to work. And that is ohana. And as a single mom with 4 daughters, it's kind of how I raised my kids. It was like, when it came down to doing chores, when it came down to doing things, it was like, I am not the mama anymore. We're all together. And my baby too, to the big ones. We're all cleaning. We're all in here doing, nobody's sitting down doing nothing, because the faster we get this done, the faster we can go to the beach, the faster we can enjoy life, and the faster we can just build what we have here. And so that's the same mentality in the way we run the operations.
I love that. That's how I am with my kids too. So it's a good, I feel good knowing that I'm on the continent, but I still brought my roots here. Yes. Definitely. It makes things feel so much better. So is there anything else that you would like to share about Hoʻakā Mana that you want the people to know?
Yeah, I would, if anybody is interested in learning more about our programs, feel free to contact Moana at Moana Nui Podcast. I can hear her in the background right now. Or, you can also directly go to our website, hoʻakamana.org, or visit us. Actually, the best place to see a lot of the up-to-date visuals is on Instagram at Hoʻakā Mana. That way you can kind of see a lot of our programs, and you can see what we're doing and feel comfortable and confident that you're investing in such a beautiful space that gives back. And we always appreciate each and every one that reaches out in any way, shape, or form. So yes, yeah.
That is incredible. So I thank you so very much for joining us today, explaining to us what Hoʻakā Mana is. I want to personally thank you so very much for allowing me to be a part of your ohana, because it has been an incredible journey. I've been with you for the last, I think, 3 weeks, and it definitely moves really fast. I know that anyone who volunteers genuinely is putting efforts in, and we appreciate everyone that comes in and able to help. And I am grateful for Moana for bringing me along and being like, hey, Jazzy, go here. And I'm like, okay, new world, let's do it. So I have a lot of gratitude. Moana, can you pop back on and let us know anything else that you'd like to share?
Oh, I think we're on mute.
Hi.
There you
Hello.
are.
See, even though, like, no matter how long I do this, I still make mistakes, but it's all good. But I was just saying, thanks, Kanoe, for coming on, and it's good to hear your survivor story about Indiki too, because that's definitely the thing that resonates for me as a fellow survivor. I didn't get stuck on the west side. Sorry, but yeah, like the reality of what that was like on the ground, going through all of that. Yeah, I was like, okay, this is more action, less talking, let's go. So thank you so much for being the vehicle that we can work with to help from afar, no matter where we are. Mahalo for that. And then one quick thing before we go, I just want to mahalo our sponsors, Papa'ololo Kahi, who helps enable both the Moana Nui podcast and Hoʻakā Mana to contribute all of the great work that we both do, both of our organizations do. So just want to give a short video for them to share the aloha, and then we can, let's see.
Aloha, I'm Kim Ku'ule Burney with Papa'ololo Kahi. Together with the Native Hawaiian Health Scholarship Program and 5 Native Hawaiian healthcare systems that serve 7 islands, our sole objective is to raise the health status of Native Hawaiians and our families. For more information, you can find it on our website at papa'olalokahi.org. Eola mau.
Yay!
Awesome. Okay, well, with that said, we're gonna let our busy Kanoe, everybody, all of us busy, so we're gonna ahui ho for now until we see everyone. Please like, share, subscribe. Go follow Hoʻakā Mana. It's below at Hoʻakā Mana on Instagram. And then if you want to learn more, continue to learn more in our community, follow us, Moana Nui Podcast, every Thursday at 7 and 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And go to moananuipodcast.com for all of our socials and all of our information. So again, mahalo Kanoe, mahalo Jazzy, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Mahalo.
Bye.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, was a freedom then. When they annexed Hawaii and called it Cedar Lands. Without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the Native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language was banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe. As a part of their ongoing war with Asia, used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if you put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism. when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kanoelani. As a part of their ongoing war with Asia, used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. Network out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell. Even if we have to ourselves, can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.